program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I'm Sara Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. Good to be back. Been a busy week, hasn't it? It has. Now, if you don't know, this is actually going to be my first stream on Kick. So, if you haven't seen over there, you can go on to Kick. So, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Rumble, and I'm on Twitter, which I will continue to dead name because it they still haven't given me subscriptions, and it's been like a year and a half. So I'm gonna assume I'm never gonna get it and continue to dead name them. So, but that's where I'm at. If you want to find me on other platforms, you can. You can also find me on Instagram at Sara Higdon with an _. That's what my Twitter handle is as well. Lots of big news stories this week. There's a lot to talk about in the trans world, which y'all know is not like what my favorite thing to talk about on these live streams are necessarily, but I might put in a segment talking, like I said, towards the end. I might do, maybe I'll create a graphic or some intro that I can play to go into a new segment of reacting to trans stories and what's going on with that for the week. But there's a few things going on. There's some wins, there's some big losses, and there's a lot of shit in politics going on right now. So this is what's even crazier is like these weeks drag by. I don't know if you guys know. I work through the week, and then I work on weekends. I write for the Post Millennial and Human Events. So I don't generally take any days off. And so I can't even remember if I played this clip for y'all last week, but I wanted to play it for you this week. If I played it last week, it's just a good reminder to go read more Mises and the fallout from this clip. Not fallout. Fallout's not the right word. The right word would be the reaction to what's his first name? Rento Moicano. Renato Moicano. It's like slow down when I speak for a second. When he told the crowd at UFC this.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and own fucking guns. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your fucking country, I'll read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers. Renato Moicano, ladies and gentlemen. I love America. I love the...
All of that. I love seeing somebody who he's from Brazil talking about how great this country is, how great the Second Amendment is, how great the First Amendment is, just how great we have it pretty well here, right? I mean, it could be better. Obviously, we're going to talk about ways to make it better during this show. That's what we do here. But he's right. If you care about your country, go read Mises. I mean, go read. There's a lot more to read than that. But it's been interesting watching people react to this clip. It's like you have somebody like Ben Shapiro. Let's just name one person that I'm talking about. You have Ben Shapiro out here talking about like rah war, send our money over to Israel, send our money to Ukraine, send our money to all these other countries in the world. and then cheering on him for saying this, speaking to Javier Milei, you know, talking to all these libertarians when you're really not a libertarian, and then claim like it's almost like they're following the current thing. So like he said on his show the other day, yes, this is he literally said, this is my jam. Go follow go read Austrian economics. This is what I'm all about. Go read Hayek, go read all these, other Austrian economic people, and yet he's pushing to grow the size of our government, which is the exact opposite of what all of these the people that he was telling you to go read are. It's like they're like, I support the current thing, and because this is going viral, I support this. This is my jam. It's kind of hilarious to watch. At the same time, anybody who is pushing to tell people to go read more Mises, I can't really condemn them too much, because when you go and read this stuff, you're going to understand that they're full of shit, right? You're going to understand that they're telling you to go do this, but they don't actually believe it themselves. But at the same time, they're getting more people to go read this stuff. So again, I can't be too mad at that. You're getting people to read the stuff that they should be reading. So at the same time, I can't be too mad at it. I just think it's hilarious that you're telling people to go do this simply because it's kind of becoming more popular. And it's becoming popular, and that's a good thing in my book as well. So pretty hilarious. If you haven't seen that, go we've been kind of talking about that quite a bit. Kind of on the flip side of that, this clip is kind of hilarious that we have to talk about, because it shows some of these people in Congress, and this Senator Elizabeth Warren. Gosh, this is dumb. If you haven't seen this clip, let's play it, and then we can watch it, and then we can talk about it.
Green text on iPhones, they're ruining relationships. That's right. Non-iPhone users everywhere are being excluded from group texts, from sports teams chats to birthday chats to vacation plan chats. They're getting cut out, missing out on plans and conversations. And who's to blame here? Apple. That's just one of the dirty tactics that Apple uses to keep a stranglehold on the smartphone market. Apple has used its monopoly on smartphones to lock Americans into services and amass billions of dollars in profits. Apple even takes a cut every time you use Tap to Pay, and has blocked a new app that would have let Android users finally use iMessage and get those blue texts. That's why last month, the Department of Justice sued Apple for its broad-based exclusionary conduct. And that's the right thing to do. It's time to break up Apple's monopoly now.
Honestly, this is like she's telling on herself here, because honestly, I responded to this, and this is the way I think, is like it's basically saying, she's basically saying, I am so insufferable that the people that I want to be in group chats with don't want me there, so they're telling me it's my iPhone because I'm so dumb. Okay, I'm in group chats with quite a few Android users. She said Apple has a monopoly on the cell phone market, which then she mentions Android. I believe like Android has like 48% of the market, so it's like 52 to 48%. It's literally, she's worried about not getting the, like, being stigmatized because she gets a green box when she texts. Like, do these people not know? I mean, thankfully there's other services out there, right? So there's Telegram, there's GroupMe, which is what most people like. A lot of people use GroupMe and Telegram to do the types of chats that she's talking about. So why is she wanting to go after Apple? It's not Apple's fault. It's not. You're not getting excluded from these group chats because of Apple. I mean, I think it gets annoying for Apple users as well as Android users when you see somebody when instead of it showing the little heart next to your message, it just says so and so loved this message. It's kind of funny, but nobody's being excluded from group chats. This is like the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard come out of God. I really think it is. She's either so naive and thinks that this is a way to push, like, try to get Apple to play ball with Congress, or people are actually just telling her, no, I can't add you to this group chat. You have an Android. Gosh. Yeah. So the Todd says, what in the actual hell? I'm in a group chat with my wife's family. Most have iPhones. I have an Android. Yeah, Todd. I mean, these people think they again, it's either they are. I don't want to use the R word on YouTube. I would use it on the other platforms, but YouTube might cancel me for that. But they either think you're dumb or they are dumb. I don't know which one it is, especially when it comes to somebody like Pocahontas here. I don't know. Kind of funny, though. The Todd says her people have suffered for 400 years. The white man arrived, and this is what she complains about. I know. I don't get it. I don't get it. You're right. The panic button team is here as well. Out of all the dumb shit to complain about, this one takes the cake. I agree. There's so much dumb stuff to complain about. Like what we're going to talk about today. There's a lot of dumb stuff to complain about. I can't believe this woman ran for president thinking that she was actually going to go anywhere. I can't. Didn't she go to where'd she go to school? Did she go to Harvard? Didn't she get into Harvard because she said she was Native American? And then she's like 1/1000th of Native American. And how is she even taken seriously anymore? Well, I don't think many people take her seriously. She's just an empty vote that they can control in the Senate. Let's talk. I mean, also, in the upfront big news stories is, you guys know, I'm friends with Chloe Cole. We've done a lot of events together. I love Chloe. She's amazing. I haven't seen her in a while. We haven't done any events lately together, but it's good to see. And big news, they announced last week her lawsuit against Kaiser Permanente for the medical malpractice lawsuit is moving forward to discovery. So this is so from what I was reading about this, and again, I'll have to have Chloe on to kind of I see. This is the thing, is I haven't had Chloe on to even talk about this because I don't know what she's even allowed to talk about. That's one of the things with going through these lawsuits. I don't want to bring her on here and have her discuss something that she can't talk about. Because I would love to talk to her about like what's going on here, but or I mean, we could talk to, but she would have to come on with her lawyers and everything like that. And I'm a huge fan of her lawyers, Harmony Dillon and the team over there as well. But it would just be it wouldn't be a great interview, I don't think. So what's going on here? To get into this new phase of discovery, they had to prove I guess Kaiser Permanente was trying to say that because Chloe's mom signed off on like it was informed consent because Chloe's mom had signed off on one of the documents to move it forward. God, I hate this. Every time I go live, it starts doing this weird stuff. So I'm so sorry. Let me see where was this? Let me just move me back to the top. Let's see. So apparently there was this the arbitration. They basically said that the arbitration agreement cannot be enforced against Chloe. So her mom signed it, but then there was like here's where it is. So the judge wrote that Kaiser failed to meet their prima facie burden in showing that the valid agreement between parties at issue exists in this case, adding that Chloe's mother had signed agreements to arbitrate in 2004 and 2005, specifically referencing arbitration agreements in 2004 and 2005. And these agreements have gone through changes since then. And there was they didn't actually show that they signed off on other changes. Why is this not working? And if you don't know Chloe's story, that's kind of the background of it is Chloe started at the guidance of her doctors. Her doctors told her parents you can either have a trans child or the notion you could have a trans child or a dead child, manipulating them into signing these paperwork so that Chloe could transition to be a boy at the age of, what was it, 12? I think, God, it's been so long since I talked about her case. What was it, 12, 13? 13. So she started puberty blockers and testosterone at the age of 13. Went on to have a double mastectomy at the age of 15. And then after hearing more about, maybe never being able to breastfeed her child, and, maybe not ever even being able to be a mother, she regretted the decision and began detransitioning at 16. If you've she's also like she talked to me. We've talked a little bit. She believes that she was undiagnosed autistic, much like many of the females that are transitioning right now. We're finding out that they have multiple comorbidities. Autism's one that's heavy in among them, and so they sued. And so moving on to the discovery phase in this is pretty big because they got past the biggest major hurdles where the judge basically said, yeah, that informed consent paperwork that your parents signed, and then there was never any paperwork after that signed later on. Even when there was paperwork provided, it wasn't signed by Chloe's mom. So that's a great news. Glad to hear that this is moving forward. It's crazy how long these things take because, like you see, Chloe they initially sent this letter of intent to sue early in November 2022. Think about how long ago that was. It's a year and a half ago. And this is just gonna be a long, drawn out process. This is why a lot of people don't sue, because it's so expensive to sue, because you have to pay for lawyers' fees to go all that period. But luckily, Chloe has a good team over there at the Liberty. Was it the Center? Liberty Center? What is it? The Center for American Liberty is Harmeet Dillon's law firm, and they've taken Chloe's case, and this is a big deal. And because, as we've talked about before on this show, we know that these lawsuits are going to be the way to end this practice of medicalizing minors. I've said this so many times. I don't know how much more I have to say it, because the thing about it is when these when you it de-incentivizes medical providers from providing this care. Back in December, we talked about it because it was a big deal, because the medical malpractice insurance providers are now saying, we're not going to cover you if you cover this stuff, because it's going to cost so much in a lawsuit. So why would we cover you if we're going to have to pay out in the end? It's not worth it for them anymore. So those are wins. Those are the ways that we're going to win this. I always say that these laws may not hold up, but especially in blue states, like Chloe lives in California, that these are going to really just de-incentivize medical providers from even getting into the practice, which is a good thing. Like, why to stop medicalizing minors? And then you have all the discovery and the reports and everything like that coming out of Europe, like in the CAS report, that's showing that this is not even beneficial. And so then even more people that transitioned as minors can come out and sue here in the US, because they say these reports in every other country are showing that it's not beneficial. The data is not there. And they told me this was, so they lied to, they are lying to patients. And so it's just gonna continue. So we're winning. We're winning this battle right now. So it's good news. But from that to another lawsuit. Now this is actually insane. If you didn't know, so the Biden administration is suing Sheetz. Now, if you don't know what Sheetz is, I don't blame you, because they're not a large chain, but they're a gas station chain basically up in the Northeast. So in the Northeast, almost completely in the Northeast, they have Sheetz and they have Wawa's. They're both they're both gas station chains, but then they have actually pretty good food, and they're like convenience stores that have basically all you need in them. When I lived in Virginia for for basically a full year, so 6 months, 2 separate times when I lived in Virginia when I was in the military, we had both Sheetz and Wawa's in the area that I was in Virginia, and I'm not gonna say it, Wawa was probably better. I probably like the Wawa's better, but Sheetz wasn't bad. And you can go in there, you can get your breakfast, like your lunch foods and everything like that. Some people prefer Sheetz, but it's really interesting because now the Biden administration is suing the gas station chain. Literally launched this lawsuit the day. So they launched the lawsuit the day after President Biden had a photo op at Sheetz in Pennsylvania. And it was he's done and then he went to Wawa like the next day, and it was like he's had these lackluster like stops where nobody at the Sheetz and the Wawas, they're really there and they're not really excited, where when you get like, former President Trump out there, and it's like he stops in the Chick-fil-A here in Atlanta and it's just like ruckus, like taking pictures, and it's fun. But what's really interesting, so it was the day after he visited the Sheetz in Pennsylvania, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission revealed that they were filing a lawsuit against Sheetz because their hiring practices disproportionately screened out Black, Native American, Alaska Native, and multiracial applicants. So thank you for the payment. Thank you, Courtney, and welcome here. Glad you're here. Thank you for the $5 super chat. It says prepayment for your skit gig. Yeah, we were talking about a potential skit on Twitter, so it's gonna be it would be funny. I do think it would be funny though. Let me see. What'd you say? Which one are you talking about? The panic button. So I see articles that say all the new info coming out is false and not to believe it or read too much into it. Why are they denying these reports? Are you talking about you're talking about Sheetz, right? Or are you talking about the CAS report? Because there is a lot of trans activists claiming that the CAS report is like they're blatantly lying about the CAS report. And I've been talking to what's his name, Benjamin Ryan. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I've been talking to Benjamin Ryan kind of offline a little bit because he's been kind of the one that's been exposing all the lies that they're being told about it. Like he's read it, but it's basically your Alejandro, what is it, Alejandro whatever, and Aaron Reeds of the world, who all have me blocked online, basically saying, like, trying to claim that they threw out all these studies that were in their favor, but it's just not even true stuff. It's just blatant lies. So if you really want the true scoop on it, Benjamin Ryan is probably the way to go with to find out about the CAS report stuff, because he's been really tracking it. Like that's kind of been his beat for like the last couple weeks or so, because since it's come out. So definitely go do that. Yeah, you're right, Courtney. I mean, I'm somehow transphobic. Yeah, that's why they all had me blocked, because I'm somehow, transphobic, and they don't want to talk to me. But there's other people that are on the left that are coming around to see our ways, and hopefully I'll be able to announce something here pretty soon. But I've been talking to some people that can to kind of bridge that divide. So stay tuned for that. But going back to this, the Sheetz lawsuit. So it is interesting because the EEOC they admitted that Sheetz was not motivated by race when they were in their hiring practice. Sheetz admitted, like they said that the chain was because they did background checks and used a criminal history on their applicants as a means of denying applicants a job, then that was a violation of Title, what is this, 7? The Title 7 prohibition on disparate impact of discrimination. So y'all, you can't, if you're hiring people, you apparently now you're not allowed to even use a background check to deny applicants, because that would then disproportionately affect minorities. And all I have to really say is, like, this is what we mean. This is what we mean when we say that it's like bigotry of low expectations. That's exactly what's happening here. Simply, like, it's the EEOC that is simply saying that there are minorities have a higher rate of criminality. So because of that, if you use their criminal records against them, then they won't be able to get jobs. Like that it's not us who believes in meritocracy, who believes that you know, if you were caught stealing at one point, you might steal from me, and I'm not going to hire you for that. It's not us that's the bigots. It's the people who think that because something disproportionately affects a group of people, then it's somehow discriminatory, or it's somehow wrong to do. It's not wrong to discriminate based on somebody's criminal record. That's what you're discriminating on. I mean, let's be real here. You are discriminating based on their criminal record, and as they even admitted, not because of their race. Sheetz did nothing wrong here. So why are they going after them? This makes absolutely no sense to me. It does though. And I'll take it back a second. This does make sense to me when you understand the way that the left thinks. Again, we go back to this is what equity is. This is what equity is all about. This is equity over equality. Equality would say that if two candidates are equal and one has a criminal record, then you go with the one without the criminal record because it's the equal opportunity. And if two candidates are pretty much equal, but one has a criminal record, you go with the one without the criminal record. However, if you go with one without the criminal record, say the person that doesn't have the criminal record is white and the person that does have the criminal record is a minority, then that is somehow discriminatory in a violation of the law. Equity is not equality, and they want to get an equal outcome, but not not factor in everything that goes into what an equal outcome means. I think that the equality is the means to go for it. And this is the basis of the DEI stuff that we're seeing, right? When we hear DEI, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, where diversity is number one, and who cares if the person has a criminal background if you discriminate against them because they have a criminal record, but they're equal in every other way to this person who is white, then that's somehow wrong. This is where, I mean, this is insane. And now if you remember, this is what happened though. Like I said, this was one day, literally one day after the president went to Sheetz. What are we doing now? Cancel. I'm sorry, I got this little thing pop up on my computer. This was one day after the president. This is what happened when he was at Sheetz. So it was kind of, let's play this. I mean, the crowd goes wild, right? When you watch Trump go into a place like this, it's crazy. When you watch Biden do this, he's like, do you want me to take a picture with you? Do you want me to take a picture with you? Like, come on. Sorry, Mayor. I'm so sorry, Mayor.
Steel tariffs. Are you concerned now over your relationship with Xi Jinping, your new relationship with him?
No,
Why?
don't jump. Don't jump.
What? Is this shit
No, that was good.
Sorry about that, y'all. My yeah, my computer did the same thing 2 weeks in a row now. My computer kind of froze up on me. It was really weird. So good thing is I run this stream off 2 computers. So I need to have like this backup set in place so that y'all know what happens when I kind of go off screen like that, because I was hoping that I could have gotten it fixed before that. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened there. What a weird response though, right? Like when he was asked about tariffs, to like how that would cause issues with Xi Jinping in California or in China, he said, "Don't jump." Like that was, it's just so weird. Like, and I mean, there's just, after that performance, I mean, again, the next day they filed a lawsuit against the company, and then went to Wawa, which is like a slap in the face, I guess, to, you know, Wawa's good. I do like the Wawas. I'm not gonna lie. But it still doesn't make that any, you know, like, yeah, if you've ever been, if you ever go to the Northeast, like the what is it, kind of New England area ish, there is Wawa in Florida, which, if you didn't know, I guess there is Wawa in Florida, but everything else you can go to yeah, everything else, the Sheetz is kind of, there's like 600 locations. I'm not going to compare them to Buc-ee's, because Buc-ee's is good, but I would say Buc-ee's is Buc-ee's is huge. These are just like regular 6 pump, like, or 8 pump gas stations, like almost like truck stop, not even big as truck stops stuff, but Buc-ee's is massive. And I will say Buc-ee's is kind of like the quintessential truck stop gas station out there anyways. But when you're in the area, Wawa's and I mean, Buc-ee's are kind of like so spread out, and Wawa's and Sheetz in that area are they're like everywhere. So I would definitely check them out. And I would go support Sheetz just because the Biden administration's suing them. So yeah. Now I think we talked about this a little bit this last week, so I don't want to go too deep into this. But if you didn't know, the Senate this weekend they voted to reauthorize spying against American peoples, and guess what? Now they don't need a warrant for it. That's what I think we talked about this last week, because the House had passed it, trying to get the warrants added into it. They yeah. Basically, and it's interesting because the FISA court had previously found that the federal government violated its own rules 278,000 times, and now they've passed it. So this is kind of going into this next section, which I will call Mike Johnson needs to be removed from the House. Removed as Speaker of the House, because these are the things. This was like the first domino to fall. And if you remember, I think even last week I was kind of saying, you know, I'm in favor of Speaker Johnson being removed for this. However, I wouldn't necessarily push for him to be removed simply because I think it just divides and causes more chaos in the party in an election year and could cause issues. However, at this point, he's not even pushing Republican, you know, values. He's not even like, Ronnie, you know, it's a good question. I don't know why. So you say Ronnie says, why can't the Republicans get a good speaker? I don't know. But I think this is what happens in the swamp, right? So in order to get into the speakership position, you have to have a lot of Democrats vote for you. Unfortunately, you have to play ball, and we don't have a big enough gap in the House, and so you got to play ball. And then when you get into the speakership position, you have to keep it. And so, like, when it came to the warrantless spying, remember we showed the video of Mike Johnson talking about this, and he said, well, you know, I went into the skiff. I was against it. He voted against it, and then went into the skiff, and they basically probably showed him what, like, dossier they would actually put out about him, whether it was true or false. And so that's that. And so then obviously the Senate goes out and they pass it 65-34. So this is actually one of those bills I think that they had to use the supermajority, which is 60 votes, and they got it. They got the 65-34. So which means you have what, 14 Republicans that voted for it. So I would go and again look into who voted for the warrantless spying on you. And they tried to add the warrants into it in the Senate side too, and they just they didn't go for it. Basically, what they're passing, like, the House is passing everything that Biden administration wants. And get this, let's see, actually I might have this in here. And now the reason why I named this episode "The United States of Ukraine" is because of this. This was one of the most disgraceful displays I have ever seen happen on the House floor. There was a $91 million budget pass or a bill passed for aid, for foreign aid, which what it did was 60 billion of it went to Ukraine. I don't know exactly the numbers that went to Israel. And then they also somehow, for some reason, added in the TikTok ban to this bill, which, even if you're in support of banning TikTok or the divestiture bill of TikTok, it should have been in its own separate bill for people to vote on, but they added it to this bill. So, members of the House of Representatives went to the floor after this passed and waved the flags of a foreign country in celebration. These people are more worried about money going to Ukraine to secure Ukraine's borders than they are our borders. And I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I do just want to, I'm going to point to this because the point that I'm making is our representatives care more about Ukraine and Israel than they care about the US, because they failed to pass a border security protection bill on its own. And it would have had, because it had the Remain in Mexico policy built in. So they failed to pass that. And it's interesting because I know Thomas Massey, who is in the Rules Committee, was trying to get this bill added to the Ukraine Israel TikTok bill, simply because it would have forced them to at least protect our borders if we're going to protect other countries' borders. Which, it's like, I'm not in favor of spending, sending foreign aid to anybody. We've talked about that. The reason why I don't think that on this program. But at least if you're going to send money to other countries, you might as well pass the bill to protect our own goddamn borders. And people say, "Oh, Sarah, you're not a libertarian because you don't believe in free trade and open borders on there." And I say that's bullshit too. If you've ever watched my content, I believe more in an Ellis Island style border system where we have background checks at the border and people can come in more freely, and then you can task your resources to stop bad people from coming across the borders. That's my border position, which can be funded under something like that. I also don't believe in income taxes, but you can also use other forms of revenue building stuff. I'm a minarchist, so I believe that the only role our federal government has is to protect our borders from invasions. We're not doing that even right now. We're more worried about foreign borders, foreign countries. And this was disgraceful. I know people want to go out there and use the term traitorous more. I don't like to use that word, right? I think that is, the word traitor has a much higher meaning, but they sold out the American people. Maybe I don't think it reaches the level of treason, but they sold out the American people this last week alone. And this is all under Republican Speaker Mike Johnson. And so this is why I do support Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene right up the road from me to remove Speaker Johnson, even in an election year. What's the point? What's the point of having somebody in there if he's not doing the job that he was put in there to do? I mean, gosh. And I mean, I have friends who are we agree to disagree on like Israel and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we remain friends. But I mean, I just can't. I just can't watch this. Your lawmakers waving the flag of a foreign country in our house. And they call January 6th an insurrection. Then what's this? I mean, and thankfully somebody like Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who told them, let me see, I have this clip too. And I don't know if you could hear that. I could barely hear that. She told them to put them damn flags away. Because even if you're for this, like, what are you doing? Yeah, so I'll play some of this of Marjorie too. Can you guys hear that? Wait, am I not capturing this audio? I don't think you can hear that, can you? 1 second.
While we're doing nothing to secure our border, I think every American in this country should be.
Here, I'll play that back.
I'm actually going to let my colleagues go home and hear from their constituents because I think people have been too obsessed with voting for foreign wars and the murder industry here in America to actually understand.
Yeah. That is what war is.
When you have the strongest, loudest voices
Military industrial
in
complex.
the Republican movement and grassroots, furious, calling for Mike Johnson to be vacated. The people here, my colleagues, have not heard the message. So I'm looking forward for them to go home, hearing from the folks back at home. But this is the sellout of America today. When we had members of Congress in there waving the Ukrainian flag on the United States House of Representatives floor, while we're doing nothing to secure our border, I think every American in this country should be furious. Who's going to vote for these people? How can you vote for these people? They don't serve our country.
Are you promising to call a vote on a motion to vacate eventually?
I don't think you were listening very well.
No, you said you wait for your constituents, but will you ever call for a vote?
But I mean, given what you said, Republicans deserve to be in the majority.
So yeah, I mean I agree. At this point, I wouldn't have called for it. I wouldn't have called for Mike Johnson to be removed, but at this point, I think it's something that needs to happen. But we'll move on. We'll move on to, let's go to this one. So if you didn't see it last week, maybe I'll do a longer form video about the Biden administration. Well, I actually did that. Click over. Come on. All right. So the Biden administration passes they put out their new Title IX rules, which enshrine gender identity as a protected class. Instead of sex, they are enshrining gender identity. Now, what is interesting about the rules is they kick the can down the road a little bit on males and female sports. So it doesn't talk about sports in the new guidelines. However, it does enshrine the concept of gender identity over biological sex as the protected category, which would mean it is still a backdoor way that they're going to try to enforce sports and bathrooms and all that stuff. Sex, they're going to try to force, males and females bathrooms in terms of schooling and academics and government funded schools and stuff like that. Now, again, if you remember what I've always kind of said about this is that I believe that there should always be a third space in government funded institutions and buildings. And that's where I will stand on this. I don't think Title IX needed to be changed. And actually, one of the things that's really interesting about this is it removed the due process protections that the Trump administration placed on those who were accused of sexual assault or harassment on university campus. So under the Trump rules, accused persons were entitled to live hearings where complaints against them could be adjudicated and had the right to face their accusers, which is enshrined in the Constitution, right? This removed that because they argued that cross-examination could re-traumatize assault survivors. But again, under the Fourth Amendment, you have due process, and part of that is being afforded the opportunity where you have the opportunity to face your accusers. And so if they can't cross-examine the survivor in these cases, then that is not, allowing the accused the right to it's not affording them their constitutional rights. So, let me see. Let's talk. Yeah. There was another spot in here that it does talk about. Yeah, so it basically says the new Title IX rules prohibit all forms of sex discrimination, including based on sex stereotypes, sex characteristics, pregnancy or related conditions, sexual orientation, and gender identity. This means that gender identity carries the same weight as sex under the provisions, which is a backdoor way to allow. It is a backdoor way for them to enforce, like, again, I talked about like bathrooms, but it's a backdoor way for them to force, males and female sports as well. And it's interesting because when all this is going on, the administration doesn't realize that in new studies, like we're seeing, most women athletes opposed males from competing in female sports. A new report, and this is actually up from before, a new report says that 70% of world-class female athletes felt it was unfair for trans males, so trans-identified males, to compete in their respective sports. So they're not even listening to women, not even the ones that it affects. And they take silence as compliance, because if these young girls speak out while they're in school, they'll lose their scholarships, they'll lose their right to compete. But when there's anonymous surveys done amongst them, they are opening up and saying, it's not fair, because it's not fair. And all the studies show that it's not fair, yet for some reason, one side seems to be pushing this. And now I said this the other day on Twitter, and it went big, right? So, but what I will say is, I kind of misspoke in it, because I said one party is doing this, and it's not a party thing, it's one side, right? Because we know that Republican politicians so far have not been trying to take away women's right to vote. So I misspoke there on Twitter the other day, because it's not Republican politicians. But there is a big discussion happening on the right where conservatives are talking about, how we want to, like, talking about erasing the 19th Amendment, which is never going to happen. If you tell somebody that you're going to, like, if you're going to campaign on that, you are going to erase somebody's right to vote, then they're never going to vote for you. So you're never going to get that vote, and you'll just lose more elections. So it's not but when even it's happening amongst conservative commentators, then it appears as though all it does is push people away from your side. But then you have the other side who is like, you know what? We know this isn't popular. We know transing kids isn't popular. We know males competing in female sports isn't popular. Yet they're voting. They're pushing this because they know that they're not going to lose the votes of those female athletes. They're not going to lose the votes. At what point do females come out and say, you know, this is crazy? Why aren't you? It's like, what are they? It seems like they're wanting to, you know, they have found this niche. They found the issue that they care about the most is actually like abortion, and following this fake abortion narrative that like Republicans are trying to take women's right to trying to take abortion away when it just pushed it back down to the states. And that's why like Donald Trump is coming out and saying that it should be with the states, but he supports it in certain instances. You know, like abortion is why the red wave never came. But at what point do you turn around and say, well, what about when you have kids and their spots are being taken away by male athletes, or they're being indoctrinated with queer theory or all this stuff? When do you stand up and vote for the other side? Or what do you do? I mean, that's the question that I asked, is what do you do? Because I mean, I work with a lot of people on all sides of the aisle. I work with mostly people on the right, but obviously I'm a libertarian and know a lot of the libertarian candidates and stuff too. But I would love to see libertarians get in there, but they don't know how to. They obviously don't know how to garner an audience to win elections. They will push people away just as much, and they're the easiest. They do it the most. They don't play the game the same way as the duopoly. So it's really difficult. What do you do? I don't know. I don't know. I know what I do. I know what I'm going to do. I mean, you have both sides selling out the American people in multiple ways, and now you just have one side pushing for males to take over women's sports, and they're not having it. And here's another instance, and I think Riley Gaines actually said that on this one the best. Now, if you haven't seen this video, in West Virginia, there was 5 middle school girls who refused to compete in the shot put against a trans identified male. Where is this? God, I hate. Why is it doing this? Jesus. Let me see. So apparently it's not going to let me show this. I need to start pulling up the videos. There we go. If you haven't seen this, these girls, they go in like they're going to throw, and they stepped out. Another one. Done. All right, that's going to start screwing up. But 5 girls did that. I mean, Riley Gaines nailed it when she said, it's really sad. It's a sad day when 13 and 14-year-old girls have to be the adults in the room and show the adults how it's done. Now, the thing about the West Virginia case, this was actually the day after a West Virginia judge. So West Virginia did pass a law banning males from competing in female sports. However, it was the child who was competing in this competition who sued the state to compete in female sports. And the judge put a stay on it until the Supreme Court can hear it. However, the stay just said that this one specific individual would still be allowed to compete in females in the female sports, while everybody else, all the other males, couldn't. So we'll see what happens there. And obviously, the Supreme Court is going to probably take this case and hopefully bring some sense to the world, because we need it. We need it. And I hope you guys don't mind. We're going to go a little bit long today because I want to do this section of Transanity because I think it is, I think it's important to discuss some of this stuff. So first off, Young Americans for Freedom hosted an event at the University of Tampa. If you didn't see this video, well, let's just watch it.
Excuse me, what are you doing in the women's bathroom?
I'm sorry?
What are you doing in the women's bathroom?
I'm peeing.
Okay, but you're a man.
No.
Yes, you are. You are clearly a man, and you were just in the women's bathroom.
Bro.
Do you know how much money I paid for this school, and now there's a man in my bathroom?
Well, you should talk to the administration.
Oh, I definitely will.
Good.
But why do you feel the need to go into women's spaces?
Look, this is exactly what I've been speaking about when I say that we need to call this stuff out. If you remember when I was on Jubilee, so there was a post, and it was Ashley St. Clair posted, "Why do more trans people don't speak out against this stuff?" Because this cross-dresser wearing what the clothes that what, like a 12-year-old wear, I don't know. Like, this is not what adults wear. This is clearly a fetish. This is what we need to be calling out, because it's people like this who go out there and think that they can just do whatever they want. And clearly this person is acting out a fetish. It's hurting actual transsexuals who just want to move about their day. If you remember in that Jubilee debate, I told Blossom straight up, I said, we have to call this out. Why won't the community call this out? It's about self-preservation. When people like this, that are clearly not transitioning, clearly out there just to provoke people. I mean, does this person clear? I would bet money that this person doesn't even go to this school. I mean, looks like he's in like his 50s. Not a college student. I mean, there are some college people that go to school later, so that's what I'm saying. I would bet that this person's not in college. But what the actual fuck is going on here? Like, we need to call this out now. So when Ashley said that, I mean, I pointed out the problem here is you had these trans activists who are out there who say in order to call this out, it ruins their entire narrative, right? So the queer theorists, this ruins their narrative that you are as long as you identify as. They want to say that, being trans doesn't necessarily mean, like, you don't have to have gender dysphoria to be trans. That's not true. Like, this is the perception that these people create. I actually saw somebody the other day claim that trans people are just performing overzealous stereotypes of women, like over feminized stereotypes. And to me, somebody who I don't necessarily think I'm the most feminine person in the world, I'm not performing over sexualized stereotypes. Definitely not wearing that going out. I've worn crop tops before, but not like that. But I was also in Vegas, so it's a little bit different. But I'm not wearing that going to a college campus or anything like that. I mean, y'all, what's going on here? We have to call this out. Everybody in the community needs to call this type of stuff out. Like if I'm in the restroom with somebody like that, I'm calling it out. I'm going, dude, what are you doing? Like, come on. The point is to blend. This person just wants to stand out. This person clearly doesn't have dysphoria because they want people to look at them. They want people to stand out in the crowd, where somebody with dysphoria wants to blend into the crowd. But the problem is most people, and a lot more people are doing it, but it's hard to get out of your stealth bubble when on one side they're going to attack you simply for being trans, and on the other side they're going to attack you for not blending in with the ideology. But more people are doing it because they're realizing that ideology and these cross-dressers that are out here just to get their rocks off are harming people with genuine gender dysphoria that just want to live their lives peacefully. So we have to call this shit out. Come on, dude. And then you have this motherfucker. Sorry. Probably going to get demonetized for that. My episode last week got demonetized too because I showed that clip on Dr. Phil because it was copyright, but almost all my live streams have been ad limited because we talk some shit. So, but this person, well, we can just talk about this, but this person again is just bad behavior that we need to call out. This person threatened women who dared to say, you look like a man, you can't use my restroom. Threatened to assault them. Listen, even admits it.
So I'm the one who went viral back in March of 2023 in a viral video that I made where I was a call to action or call to arms, go out, buy a gun. If you try to stop me from going into a woman's bathroom, it'd be the last mistake you ever make. Yeah, I'm that person, and I stand by every fucking word I've ever said. The fact that I have to explain now, here we are a year later, explain why I made that video and just how many fucking stupid people there are in my comment section and in my DMs saying you threatened women and children. Nowhere in that video did I threaten women and children.
You just admitted it, you fucking idiot.
A broken fucking record. I mean, I made that video in response to somebody else who was making unaliving statements or unaliving promises to another trans femme on this app. Yeah, I took the initiative and stood up to that motherfucker. And what I got in response to that was a lot of people hating me for no reason whatsoever, getting my name defamed and slandered in news articles. I've even had famous people mention me. It is what it is. I mean, they're going to get theirs. I'm going to get a paycheck at the end of this, so it's all good. Really? People calling me a pedo, as long as I can find out who you are.
They're going to get theirs. Listen, threatened women said, if you're not going to stop me, it will be the last mistake you ever make. That is a violent threat. You don't get to demand the use of female restrooms. Now, here's the thing. People will come to me, will say that I demand access to female spaces. I do not. I do not. I abide by the rules of the establishments, the private property owner, the rules that the private property owner establishes. I am not out here making demands that I will use this, I will use that. No. I respect the private property owner's rights to make the rules within their establishment. If I don't like it, I can go somewhere else. That's not demanding anything. That's just saying what it is. And I think that government-run buildings should have third spaces for trans people to use. I would gladly use those in government-funded buildings as a viable alternative. Every school in this country should have a option for gender nonconforming students. Every prison should have an LGBT ward, because even gay men get assaulted more in prisons and males prisons as well. So, you know, the trans and the gay men can be happy. But the caveat there is that it's based off of severity of crime, violent assaults, and rape, you know, murder, rape, violent assault, all that stuff. Yeah. You're not going in this LGBT ward. I don't care what it is. You're going in the men's ward. Severity of crime can take place there. We have medium, maximum, and low security prisons for that reason anyways. So you can put a ward in there for, you know, LGBT people, and people say, oh, yeah, maybe not the L. We can, yeah, the L probably doesn't need to be in there unless you want to put violent lesbians in with the male, the LGBT, the BGT males. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not here to work that out, but I'm saying, there's reasonable solutions that we can come to, and we don't demand access anywhere. And when you say that'll be the last mistake you ever made, yeah, bro, that's a threat. And now you're threatening lawsuits. Let's be clear. This person, they made violent threats in the past, and now they're saying you're going to get a knock on your door, because I'll play the rest of this. You're going to get a knock on your door, which it is clear that they mean via lawsuit, but I wouldn't be so sure. I don't trust the rhetoric. That is just the rhetoric around it. So that is just what they want to, you know, present it as, because they know that they can't make violent threats, because they've already been in trouble for that one.
And where you live, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get, you're going to get a knock on your door for that. Calling me a pedo because I am a woman and I use the women's restroom and I use women's locker room. No one has ever fucking stopped me. No one. No one will
ever. Do you think
fuck
anybody's going to try to stop you? They're uncomfortable when you're in there, dude. Do you think anybody's ever going to try to stop you when you're online threatening people? Come on. Come on now. Of course they've never done it. Because you are a violent person. You have a violent attitude. You look like a violent person.
Can stop me. Chaya Rat Chick, you fucking Chia Pet, fucking Tim Pool with his fucking receding hairline, Beanie Boy, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder, all of those fucking chuckle fucks. They've all got something to fucking hide. Me, I don't have nothing to fucking hide. Everything that everybody's ever exposed about me, I don't fucking care. I wouldn't, if I wanted to be secretive, I wouldn't have put anything out there on the internet. It's the way it is. I don't fucking care. But if you're gonna slander and defame my character and my name, then you're gonna fucking owe me a fucking check in the long run. And I'm gonna get that fucking check.
Yeah, nobody's gonna pay you. Nobody's gonna pay you, dude. And dude's gender neutral. I use that for everybody. Just to be clear, YouTube. Nobody's gonna pay you. All these people have so much more money than you. Do you think that you're going to actually sue them? Nobody's gonna take up a defamation case on this. You clearly threaten people. Nobody's taken that case. Jesus Christ. This is the thing, though. Talking more and just going back into not demanding access to spaces. Listen, I knew when I started transitioning that, and then when I really decided to become a public person, but even just transitioning, I think there's a responsibility of every trans person out there. Every interaction you have on a daily basis, because the internet's not real, so a lot of this stuff is that we fight about online is not the same stuff that we see on a daily basis. On a daily basis, it's a lot different. Every interaction you have with people on a daily basis is a chance to either win them over and see trans people in a good light, or if they've already seen trans people in a good light, if you have a negative interaction with that person, that is an opportunity for them to then cast trans people aside, start making stereotypes because of your actions about the whole community. And so there really is this responsibility, I feel, to go out and be a good person on a daily basis. Every interaction that I have is to try to show trans people, I guess, in a good light. And I always have that kind of in the back of my mind when I'm out there, no matter who I'm talking to. You know, I still espouse the views that I have, I speak about on this show. Male, like everything I've said here today, males shouldn't compete in female sports, kids shouldn't transition, we shouldn't demand access to spaces. I share those views with people of the world every day, but we do it in a respectful manner. And guess what? And it's the same thing. I have loads. I mean, I meet people all the time, and I'm the first trans person they've ever met. Could you imagine if that interaction went bad? So I think you have a responsibility to do better, to show a good example. And if you're out there threatening people, or you're making people, you know, uncomfortable, then that's an issue. Now, if I was at the here, let's break this down. If I'm at the gym or anywhere in the world, anywhere, and somebody's uncomfortable with me in the presence in the female restroom or anything like that, and they're generally not going to talk to me about that, right? That's obvious. They're probably not going to come up to me and confront me about it. And nor should they. I don't think that anybody should go and confront this person either. What they need to do is talk to the business, you know, business owner establishment. Obviously, in some cases like the Planet Fitness stuff, that doesn't always go so well. But it is the business's right to make that decision. So if you are uncomfortable and the business brushes you off, it is your that is your right to then disassociate with that business, and to not go to that business, not force them to take your money because it's obvious they don't want it. If my gym approached me and said some of the women were uncomfortable with me using the facilities, we would work together. I would work with them to find a viable alternative. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable with me in the presence. Like we have, I've actually never showered. I've never actually changed at the gym. Usually if they had like locker room, or if they had lockers just to put your stuff in that was outside the locker rooms, I would use that. And the only reason why I would use the locker rooms is to put my stuff in there because we do have family locker rooms. And if I was going to change, I would go use the family locker rooms because they have individual stalls and individual showers, but there's only like 5 of them. And so I'm not going to go take up a full family locker room just to lock my stuff away. And so we would come up with a solution though. but I'm not going in there and changing in the locker rooms. I'm not taking showers at the gym. Those are just things that I'm not comfortable in doing that myself and potentially making somebody else uncomfortable. So I usually just get in, lock my stuff up and get out, not lingering around in there. But we would make accommodations. We would come to a solution that works for everybody. But people like this, people that are trying to force this type of stuff, they don't want solutions. They want their way. So at the end of the day, we have to be good stewards, I guess, of the trans community. I don't even really, I don't fit with the community. I don't think we have a community. I don't think we have an LGBTQ whatever community. I don't even think there's an LGBT community. Literally everybody is looking for different things. But which is why the community, like, there is no community there. And so I will continue to build a smaller community within the community that speaks out against garbage like this. But this isn't the way. Demanding access, demanding this stuff is not the way. So anyways, we went almost 30 minutes over today. Exactly, Ronnie, you're right. There is no monolith. There is no monolith in the community. Think about this. It's funny because I've heard a lot of lesbians kind of always say this too. Like, I've heard Jamie Michelle from Gays Against Groomers, and I like Jamie. We're cool. She said that she has more in common with a straight man than a trans woman, but she also has more in common with a straight man than a gay man. So how is the community set in that regard? I don't know. There is no monolith in there, and we all just kind of do our own thing, and we have our own sub communities within the communities, and more transsexuals are coming to speak out against these two types of people that we showed here tonight, because both of them make us all look bad. So again, I want to thank you for joining tonight. I got a little bit on the soapbox there at the end, had to talk about that because that is something that we need to talk about more. It's just really important that people understand that this is not a representation of who we are. But if you haven't already, make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.